Hello and welcome everybody. This is Grouchy Mustache Man with a video demonstrating the installation of Mopar running boards on the 2022 Jeep Grand Cherokee L. The part number for the kit is 82216145AE, which replaces part number 82216145AD. The part name is Integrated Side Steps. I purchased the kit from Mopar's National East store for $669.24 and paid no shipping since I had them delivered to my local dealer. So without further ado, let's get started. First things first, let's go over what parts are supplied in the running board kit. Of course, you get a right and a left running board. You get 12 M6 nuts. You get 14 M8 hex Rivnuts. You get 14 M8 bolts, 6 stud plates, and 2 access door covers. For the sake of time, I'll only be covering the right or passenger side installation today, but it's very similar for the driver side also. Parts for both sides are identical except for the running boards. The right hand or passenger side will have an RH imprinted on the brackets, and the driver's or left hand side will have an LH imprinted on it. Here are the tools I use to install the running boards. A couple of trim removal tools, a 9/16 inch open end wrench, a 3/8 inch ratchet driving extension with 13mm, 10mm, 8mm sockets, and also a Rivnut tool. It's a specialty tool from Mopar. It's part number 82212003. There are other ways of installing Rivnuts, but I highly recommend purchasing the tool. It'll help you immensely in installing the Rivnuts. Prior to installing the running boards, we must first remove the factory installed cladding that runs beneath the doors the entire length of the vehicles from wheel well to wheel well. To do so, we remove 4 screws that connect the wheel liners to the cladding. There's 2 in the front wheel well and 2 in the rear wheel well. To remove these screws, I use the ratchet with the 8mm socket attached. After removing the 2 front wheel liner screws, I now move on to the rear wheel liner screws. Once again, this is an 8mm socket that I'm using. The next step in removing the cladding is using the trim removal tools to pry loose the 23 plastic clips that attach the cladding to the vehicle. 14 of the clips are accessible from the top of the cladding with the doors open. Being careful not to damage the paint or create dents, insert the tools behind the cladding and pry out to disconnect the clips. This is the most time-consuming and tedious part of the job. Some clips will break, but that's okay since the clips are not reused. Just be sure to remove remnants of any broken clips that remain in the mounting holes once the cladding is fully removed. The remaining 9 clips are accessible from below the vehicle. Slide the tools behind the clips and pry down to disconnect the lower clips. Once all of the upper and lower clips are loose, you should be able to remove the cladding with a couple of good pulls. Don't forget to remove remnants of any broken clips. Now that the cladding is removed, we can start the actual installation of the running board. Using the Rivnut tool, install 7 Rivnuts which will serve as threads for the running board mounting bolts. The Rivnuts mount in the hexagon-shaped holes, 6 of which are accessed from the bottom of the vehicle and 1 on the side near the middle of the rear door. To install a Rivnut, slide the washer and anvil onto the bolt. Next, screw the Rivnut onto the bolt until it is finger tight. Insert the complete assembly into the hex hole on the vehicle until the Rivnut's flange is in complete contact with the vehicle. Hold the assembly in place by using a 9/16 inch open-end wrench on the hex portion of the anvil. Then use a ratchet and 13mm socket to tighten the Rivnut bolt. Tightening the bolt causes the Rivnut to crimp on the underside of the hex hole. When fully tightened, the hole will be sandwiched between the crimp and the Rivnut's flange. It will take about 3.5 full turns of the bolt to fully crimp the Rivnut. This is equal to about 14 1/4 cranks on the ratchet. When fully tightened, remove the Rivnut bolt by reversing the ratchet and loosening. One other note about using the Rivnut tool. To prevent the tool from seizing, the instructions say to lubricate the bolt's threads with oil before use and after every 3 Rivnuts. To install the running board assembly onto the vehicle, there are 14 pre-installed clips that will be inserted into holes on the side of the vehicle. With the doors open, lift the running board assembly up to the vehicle and align the locator posts and clips with the holes in the vehicle. Insert the posts and clips into the holes and firmly push each clip until they are fully seated into the holes. The clips are strong enough to hold the running board in place without any other support. Using a ratchet and a 13mm socket, install the M8 bolts through the mounting brackets and into the 7 previously installed Rivnuts. Don't fully tighten the bolts at this time. We'll now install a stud plate through the vehicle's pinch flange into each of the running board's 3 brackets. Using a ratchet and 10mm socket, loosely tighten M6 flange nuts onto the stud plate's posts. With a ratchet and 8mm socket, connect the front and rear wheel liners to the running board using the screws saved from step 1. It's now time to go around the running board and tighten up all of the nuts and bolts to the proper torque. The 7 M8 bolts in the Rivnuts should be torqued to 9.6 foot-pounds. The 6 M6 flange nuts on the stud plates are torqued to 6.64 foot-pounds. The 6 M6 bolts that came pre-assembled on the running board are also torqued to 6.64 foot-pounds. And finally, the 4 wheel liner screws are torqued to 2.1 foot-pounds. The final step is to hide the M8 bolt that's on the side of the vehicle by snapping the access door cover into the opening on the running board cladding. So there you have it. Just repeat the process for the other running board and you should be good to go. I hope this video was informative and enjoyable. Thanks for watching.